Okay, you're live, Mayor.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular City Council meeting for February 23rd. And before we do the roll call, I'd ask the City Attorney to make an announcement.
Good evening. The procedures adopted for this meeting meet or exceed the standards set forth in Governor Newsom's Order N-25-20, allowing public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Madam Clerk, I would ask you to please conduct roll call and then ask the mayor to recognize me afterward to confirm for the record that everyone is who they say they are and that everyone can hear the proceedings.
Conduct the roll, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Here.
Councilmember Veros,
Present.
Councilmember Zafar,
Here.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Here.
and Mayor Hudson.
Here, City Attorney has the floor.
Thank you so much. Based on the responses to the roll call, the record should reflect that all council members can hear the proceedings clearly. And if there are no objections, the record should further reflect that each council member believes, based on voice and facial recognition or otherwise, that everyone is who they say they is.
You didn't just do that. Oh, yes, we are who we is.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, no, I got to stop laughing. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, that was about as tough as it can get. Are there any changes and additions to the agenda?
There are no changes or additions this evening.
Okay, and where do we got the next one here? This is where we go into explaining. If you wish to speak under public comment or regarding an agenda item, please click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken on the agenda item. Have we any calls, Sabina? Wait a minute. No, there's none. Seeing none. Boards, committees, and commission meetings. A complete list of upcoming meetings may be found on the city website at www.sanramon.ca.gov. Subscription. Wow, say that one fast. Service is available at the link for automatic meeting notification. Contact the city clerk. Oh, I love this. At 973-2539. Let me repeat that. 973-2539. I remember I used to do that to Abram. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Members of the audience are encouraged to address the city council on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. I see only one person, caller and user number 1. You the only speaker. Let me just say we did have one public comment come in. And if you'll allow me 1 minute, we do not read them, but I have to tell you, if you haven't seen this yet, it was Sean Maxwell from Doris Eaton School, a kindergartner. You should read this. So let's bring in caller number 1. I'm sorry, caller in user number 1. You have 3 minutes. Have we got her in? You have the floor. You're good.
Hello.
Yes, we can.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my questions from the last meeting were not answered. So I'm going to repeat here. Hopefully that it can go on the public records about why I'm very concerned that all these housings that we will be building, if it's meaning to have people who cannot afford to live here, particularly, I would like to see teachers and police officers. I would like to see ordinances that can allow them to have priorities to these homes first. And also, I would like to make sure that real estate sharks from overseas cannot come here and buy up multiple units. Where I am in the community right now in San Ramon, we're experiencing people who won't sell their homes, but then they're renting them out on a short-term basis. And that's why we're not seeing kids coming in, because now literally these residential homes are being used as like hotels. These really need to be investigated, and we need to have ordinances that prevent these kind of abuse. So then we don't need to continue to be pushed by the state, you know, who they don't really know what's going on. They don't deal with people who are real estate sharks, and yet they always come and push us to build more and more that really downgrade our quality of life. So I would like to get that out in the public comments and ask the city to please investigate and make sure that there are proper ordinances that prevent or deal with you know, residential units that are being used to be rented out on a short-term basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily, AKM. And you have to unmute. You have the floor.
I'm just listening to everything that's going on. So that's about it. Just want to
Okay.
know what's going on in San Ramon. Been here 10 years.
Oh,
Thank
good. Well, you keep paying attention to this group, you'll find out what's coming. Thank you very much, Emily. That will close public comment. I don't see any other speakers that wish to speak. Before we move to a motion on the consent calendar, I'd like to make a statement about consent calendar item number 5.9 in accordance with Government Code Section 54-953C3. At the February 9th, 2021 regular City Council meeting, the City Council met in closed session to perform an evaluation of the city manager. The City Council voted unanimously to increase the city manager's compensation by 3%, a one-time non-personable payment of $5,000, and a 1% contribution increase for a total of 3% to the employer's share of CalPERS by the city manager, and extend the contract by 1 year. Consent calendar items are considered a routine in nature and are acted upon by the City Council with a single motion. Let me see. Martin is making my test a little bit more difficult when I do this. There are certain things that you put on here that we can do under, no, that's public comment. Okay, it's open for a motion. Member, our Vice Mayor Perkins.
I'll move 5.1 through 5.9.
We have a motion. Do
can
we have a
second.
second? Second by Councilmember Zafar. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Veros,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes, that's 5-0 confirmed. There are no special presentations, no deferred consent items, no City Council appointments, and no unfinished business. Man, are we good. We're up to 10.1, the Library Advisory Committee Annual Report. Introduction by Brad Morris. We have a presentation, Brad, you're going to introduce? Wherever Brad is he coming in?
Right here.
But he didn't expect me to be that quick, did you?
Perfect. Good evening, City Council members, Mayor Hudson. It is a pleasure to be here tonight and help present to you the Library Advisory Committee Annual Report. As you know, it's been an exciting year. Even with facility closures and canceled meetings, this group did a wonderful job helping the library navigate through the pandemic and helping us with our transition from one library in the Doherty Valley to soon to be 2 libraries in the Doherty Valley. We're happy to present to you all the wonderful things this advisory committee accomplished this year, as well as our goals for 2021. It's an honor to introduce to you the Chair Ross, who will be presenting this evening's report.
Okay, Chair Ross, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Brad, and good evening, City Council members. I'm Rosia Ross, and I'm the current chair of the Library Advisory Committee. I'm pleased to join you this evening to present our 2020 annual report. There we go. Next slide, please. Yep, perfect. So here you can see our committee during our January meeting. We met 3 times last year. January was our only in-person meeting, and we did have to cancel our April session as we were all navigating the new world that we live in. So kudos to Brad for taking this great picture of us in our virtual state. As you can see, we did have a few special guests from City Council present. And let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so our advisory committee serves as an advocate for any issues related to our San Ramon libraries. Our meeting includes updates on upcoming activities that are provided by our senior community library manager, Dina Hollywood, as well as Brad providing us library service level updates. Our meetings also often have participation from senior advisory and teen council committee liaisons, showing strong ties for those communities within San Ramon use of our services. In addition to those standard updates, this year we also received progress updates on the county's library pandemic preparedness plan, something I'm sure that most of us who applied for library advisory committee never thought we would be covering in our meetings. But I definitely want to say kudos to our librarians and our county staff in making sure that we had as minimal interruption to our library services as possible during these trying times. Next slide, please. So in 2020, 2 of the 6 goals that are chartered for our committee, those are a review of performance standards and a review of the library strategic plans, were not covered in our sessions. We'll be covering these 2 goals in the upcoming 2021 meetings. And the committee instead received updates on expansion of virtual services available to our residents, which included chat with a librarian, issuing of library e-cards that allowed our residents access to online assets such as local and national newspapers, Rosetta Stone, among others. And also we saw an increase in funding for materials, e-materials available via Overdrive. Additionally, our youth service librarians took the super popular Storytime virtual, and it is actually now available to library patrons countywide. Next slide, please. Our committee was briefed on the Doherty Station joint use agreement and construction of the new library on our Diablo Valley College campus. The Community College District has given notice that the joint use agreement will need to be restructured on completion of their library. As construction is ongoing, Amendment 11 was signed to continue the agreement through December 2020, and an additional extension is going to be signed covering the period through this fiscal year. Next slide, please. So one of the highlights for my tenure on Library Advisory Committee has been Story Walk and the approval for Story Walk to roll out at Central Park. So this year, our committee approved 3 books. Daniel Finds a Poem was our inaugural story. Raj and the Best Day Ever was featured from November through January. Bunny's Book Club is on deck for February through the April months. We're especially proud of Story Walk as it lets our residents combine the joy of reading while enjoying one of our loveliest parks. Next slide, please. In 2021, we're going to carry over 5 goals that are in our standard charge, including reviews of the 2 that I previously mentioned that we were unable to address in the 2020 meetings. Next slide, please. For 2021, we've also added evaluating go forward Doherty Station Library offerings. And this is based on expected reduced use by DVC students and pivoting the offerings, whether it's the layout. We're going to look at all of that that's offered at Doherty Station and tailor it to the community that is going to be using it more, which are families, small children, as well as the children that use Doherty Station after school. So all of these are going to require potentially layout, potentially, just re-swizzling how the books even that are available. And then also the second thing we added was monitoring the progression of both of our libraries from current services, which are front door and by appointment, and metered to metered service levels, which is where limited in-building library use will be allowed. Next slide, please. And then thank you for the opportunity to give you this update. And just remember, always love your library.
Thank you, Chair Ross. Before I open up public comment, I'll ask if there are any clarifying questions. First from Member Armstrong, then Veros. Go ahead, Mark.
No questions.
Okay,
do have a comment.
Sridhar, you're good?
Oh, I have one
Go ahead.
question regarding Doughty Valley Station Library openings timings. As I remember last year, we had a conversation where we wanted to reduce the number of hours, especially by cutting on Mondays. Then there was, at that time, because of the COVID-19, the schools were closed and so we thought, okay, we'll revisit the issue, but now the school's hybrid mode is already open, I think. So I just wanted to check on that to see how we are, is there any plan to get it open on Monday or what are the plans?
And you're asking for the rest of this budget year, or Brad, do you have that one?
Yeah, I can help answer that one. Yes, we are aware that the school district will be going back to some virtual or hybrid learning. The plan is for this year is to not open up on that Monday. We're going to continue with the Tuesday through the Saturday schedule. If we get feedback from those students or that community that there's a need, we'll definitely be looking at the Doherty Station Community Center as far as for meeting that need for those students to be able to go and study and hang out, as well as working with the Doherty, the community college on when they'll be able to open up, their facilities. Right now, we do not have a time frame for that. I believe they're still completing those projects, but once we know more of the demand, we'll be able to pivot and meet those needs.
Good. Thank you, Brad. Oh, by the way, thanks for excellent presentation. Ross, thank you.
Okay, Council Members Zafar, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. And Vice Mayor Perkins, before we open public comment, do you have any questions?
Oh.
You're muted. Scott?
Oh,
Okay, very good. Public comment is open. Now's the time for anyone to address us on this item. I have one speaker. Emily, you have something you wish to speak to us about the Library Advisory Committee report. You're muted, Emily. Oh, maybe it just keeps coming up. Emily, did you wish to speak to the council on this item? Okay, going once, going twice. If we can get her in later, we'll try that if that's okay, Christina. We'll wait. I will, yep, there she is. I think, nope, she's gone. Nope, she's taken down a hand. Okay, we will close public comment. At this time, there's anyone wish to make any comments before we accept the report?
Mayor,
Go ahead, Mark, starting with you.
First, I'd just like to say thanks for the report. I sat through one of the Library Advisory Committee meetings and when I first came on council, and really enjoyed getting the update on what was going on. You were talking about your goals at that time. I will say I've been down to Central Park recently. I've gone and followed the story of Raj, and it was very interesting. And, well done with that story walk. And I'm sure as part of my role with the Infrastructure Committee, I anticipate we'll probably be seeing more about updates or renovations to the Doherty Station Library in the future. So I look forward to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Sridhar, do you have any comments? Or Sabina?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
I
Vice
do
Mayor
have a
Perkins.
few comments.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Sabina.
Firstly, thank you so much for the presentation, Rocio. That was wonderful. I know you guys really were thrown a curveball and you took that and managed everything really well. The story walk has been such a favorite of mine. I don't think there's any city in the Tri-Valley or nearby actually that has something like this. And my kids are not that young, but I've brought a lot of friends' kids around there to read the stories, and they've really enjoyed it. And it adds so much character, and especially perfect timing for COVID because people are out and about and kids are there. So I'm sure it's getting a lot of foot traffic. So just what an amazing idea. So thank you for that. I did want you to maybe say a few things about the Wi-Fi program that the library is offering, because I think that's an excellent resource for residents. So do you want to give a quick comment on that?
I actually have not seen that rollout. I don't know, Brad, if you have the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I would be more than happy. Sorry, I'd be more than happy to. Actually, if you don't mind, I would love to pull in Dina Hollywood, our senior librarian, and she could speak a little bit on it because she'll be better able to handle that than me.
And she's in the attendees, Brad?
She is, and
She should be,
Christina
yes.
will help me out with that.
Okay, let's bring her in then. Yes. If
Well,
I thought that was such an excellent.
Oh, wait a minute. No, she's
Dina's in it.
technical question, Martin. Is she part of the public or part of the staff report? Because I closed the public hearing.
If
Staff.
staff is having her be part of the presentation, then she's.
Thank you for the bailout, City Attorney. Dina, come on in.
Hi.
Opened a public hearing. Okay, go ahead, Dina.
So the Wi-Fi hotspots, we have 200 of them. And you can connect up to 10 devices on them, and you check them out just like any other, like a book. So you can check them out for 3 weeks. And they're pretty popular. So they've been going out, and you just have to charge them up, and we charge them before we send them out. We also have another thing fairly recent is we have Raspberry Pis, which are like small computers, and they come with a monitor and a keyboard and everything. So we're really trying to meet the needs of the people in the community. So
That sounds good to me. Thank you for bringing that up, Sabina. Do you have another question? No.
No, that was all.
Okay.
I thought it would be good for people to hear about it because it's such a wonderful program.
I do too. Vice Mayor Perkins, bring it home.
I want to thank you for the presentation, and I enjoyed our first meeting, and I went to the foundation first meeting, and I want to thank you for all the work you guys do in making our libraries the best in the county and some of the best in the region. Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that too, Chair Ross. I think you did a great job tonight. This is, I mean, I wanted to make this almost a template on how you do. No pressure, Lisa, if you're up next. A template on how you do these advisory committee meetings. We get in with a couple of quick, poignant questions, and it really makes the point to the public. So I really want to thank you for coming tonight and for the work that you're doing with the Library Advisory Committee. There's no action required, so we accept the report. Thank you once again, and we move on to 10.2.
Mayor, before you move on, I thought
Yes.
I saw Brad raising his hand a couple of times.
Well, no, I just love the excitement around the story walk, and I just wanted to let you know that the newest book number 3 will be out any day now. So with all this beautiful weather, please come out to the park, and I think you'll enjoy the 3rd edition. So
Was that the leader? What are we now? Turner Network? The 3rd edition coming soon. Be there. Thanks, Brad. Okay, we're moving on to the Transportation Advisory Committee Annual Report. Introduction of Lisa Bobadilla, Division Manager, and the presentation by Billy Hurley. So Lisa, are you here?
yes, I'm here, Mayor.
You're up.
I'm not. Well, no pressure. Thank you for that introduction. Good evening, Mayor
You
Hudson,
get 2 shots at it.
members of the City Council, City Manager, staff, and San Ramon community. The item before you this evening is an update on the Transportation Advisory Committee. Mr. Bill Hurley is the chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee. And before we begin, I want to thank Mr. Hurley. He was the chair of the committee in 2020. He helped us transition from in-person meetings to virtual meetings, and he's done a fabulous job with that. So thank you to him. Also, Mr. Hurley represents the city of San Ramon on the Contra Costa Transportation Authority Citizen Advisory Committee. So he is our representative on that committee. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hurley for tonight's presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Hurley, you have the floor.
Thanks, Lisa, Mayor Hudson, council members, fellow residents and staff. Like Lisa said, Billy Hurley, outgoing chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee. There we go. All right. Thank you. What you see before you, you have the makeup of the Transportation Advisory Committee. We have 6 city-appointed residents and 1 from the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce. We have several liaisons from the City Council, Planning Commission, Senior and Teen Advisory and Councils. We have Wayne Mortensen, who is our representative at the County Connection Advisory Committee. And like Lisa said, I represent the city at the CCTA Citizens Advisory Committee. Our meetings are the 3rd Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. virtually, of course, at the moment. Next slide. This is a visualization of most of the programs, all the programs that we receive reports on, give feedback to. We'll get into a few of them as we move forward here. Next slide. Largely, the main program we work with is the residential traffic calming program. What this program does is allows residents of San Ramon to submit concerns around traffic related issues to the city staff. City staff goes through a number of steps in studying these issues and brings these issues to the Transportation Advisory Committee for our recommendations and action if required. Some of the things would be speeding, crosswalk issues, policing, bus, traffic signals. Talk a little bit more going forward here as well. Next slide. This is a rundown of the 60 requests received in 2020. Interestingly enough, I went back to the previous year. Last year was 2019 with 67 requests, but the speeding requests actually went up in 2020. You know, speculation amongst us is, you know, more people at home to perceive the folks speeding. And if you've ever been to TAC, you'll understand why I said perceive. And the school requests around schools is obviously down with the schools not being out. Next slide. All the dots represent areas of the city where the requests come from. You'll see the orangish yellow dot represents the speeding or speed hump requests. You obviously see some of them lined up along collectors throughout, like South San Ramon there. I believe that's probably Devona, that you see a nice line down the center of the city. But as you can see, there's requests coming from all parts of San Ramon, all around the city. Next slide. So it's just a listing of the major roadways that we see a lot of the traffic calming requests come from, some of which are arterials and many collectors, but it's just a representation of the majority of the streets and areas we get requests from. Next slide. In September 2020, we formed a subcommittee to review the residential traffic calming program. Myself, Joy Bhattacharya, and Al Pacheco. The previous residential traffic calming program was put in place, I believe, about 14 years ago. So it was about time to take a look at it and see what needed to be adjusted. There's a draft toolkit together right now. Final draft will be available in April, and the final toolkit will come before the City Council in May of 2021. Next slide. One of the main requests, big issues, challenges we dealt with in 2020 was the Trevari permit parking pilot program. There were several opportunities given to communities surrounding areas to voice their concerns on the issue. A request was submitted by the Trevari residents requesting permit parking. After a few public comment sessions, studies by the city staff, we elected to approve a 12-month temporary permit parking program. The policy committee and the city council agreed, and that was implemented towards the end of January, and Trevari is now under that 12-month pilot permit parking program. Next slide. Safe Routes to School is another big program that we receive reports and provide feedback. Obviously, with the schools being hybrid or remote fully at the end of last year and all but all of this one, that study was kind of put on hold because they're typically, the observations are done between February and April. But in normal circumstances, what the Safe Routes to School program does is they observe crosswalks, the uses of crossing guards, the infrastructure, patterns for pickup and drop off, parent and student behavior. Out of that, Safe Routes to School maps are developed, as you see on the slide here for Bella Vista, and that is distributed through the school district so that parents and students are aware of the best routes to get into their school sites. For 21-20 school year, it's going to take place in the fall. Next slide. The San Ramon Valley Street Smarts program is another program that they receive reports and give feedback to. It's a traffic safety and education program. This year, under the circumstances, most of it has largely gone virtual, online programs for the school year 2021. There's things like poster contests at the high schools. SHIP conducted virtual programs for their 400 students and parents. There was the elementary school poster contest where 16 submitted entries. Part of the Street Smarts program, this is actually being discussed prior to COVID, the adult bicycle safety classes. But as we recover here, we're going to start talking more about the adult bicycle safety program. Obviously, with the increased bicycling and pedestrian traffic that has come out of this past year, it's going to be definitely a welcome addition to the Street Smarts program. Next slide. Next two slides are a couple of fun submissions from the poster contest. This one is the winner from the grades K through second, showing the different needs for lanes and travel paths for the various modes. Next slide. And this is the contest winner for grades 3 through 5. Nice artwork there. Next slide. Public transit, we receive reports from County Connection, the Joint Powers Authority or agency that services the central and southern part of Contra Costa County. We remember that last year or the year before, during the study, Route 36 was taken away and 35 modified slightly to accommodate some of the northern route of 36. Mayor Hudson is the representative for the board, and we have Wayne Mortons and on their Citizens Advisory Committee for County Connection. Next slide. On-demand transit service. Again, this was something that was developed before COVID. When Route 36 from County Connection was reduced to try to accommodate specifically the senior need at the senior center and Valley Vista housing area. It was implemented in March, right as COVID kicked off. So the service use was probably greatly degraded. There's 42 participants registered right now. 22 rides have been provided. This information for this program is available on the city site, as well as pamphlets distributed at the senior center and other areas where they may find that information. Next slide. And this is the Go San Ramon pamphlet. Explains the program. Next slide. What's on the horizon for 2021? A lot of things going on. The next 4 slides cover this. As I mentioned before, the subcommittee has given feedback, and the new toolkit for residential traffic calming is nearing its end. We're going to hear from County Connection again about any potential changes to routes, and we'll provide feedback to that. Hear a lot about Innovate 680. That's an exciting project there, and we'll give feedback to that. Crow Canyon widening is going on. Part of it has been done. Some new bike lanes, nice smooth road up Crow Canyon, but that continues. Also, the mobility on demand pilot program, which I believe is on deck next on the agenda tonight. And the Bollinger Canyon overcrossing for someone who rides his bicycle to work every day down in Dublin. It's a very exciting project. Can't wait to see that come to fruition. Next. Again, we'll be taking a look at Street Smarts programs as things start to open up again, and the potential adult bicycle program. Receive updates on any changes to Traffics, which is our bus program to schools as they open back up. The citywide master plan, we'll hear more about the implementation of that, as many things have already been improvements been made, and that is well on its way to being implemented. After the 12-month pilot program at Trevari, we'll get some feedback to that, see how that has worked out, and if it needs to continue and become permanent, or the community has been relieved from their parking issues. 511 Contra Costa will update us on their incentive programs. And we'll receive updates on the Transportation Demand Management Employer Seminar, which I believe is Friday at noon. Next slide. Input and participate with the development of the citywide bike festival. And again, the adult bicycle education program. We'll receive an update on the city center traffic demand management program and their midday shuttle service. Hopefully we'll get some more usage of the Go San Ramon on-demand transit service as things open back up. And we'll receive feedback on that. And we'll provide input on the installation of our new marquee at the San Ramon Transit Center. Next. We'll provide input and feedback on the proposed FY21 and 22 capital improvement projects. We'll reconvene the Safe Routes to School subcommittee once the observations are able to be conducted again. Receive updates from the County Connections Citizens Advisory Committee. And I'll give more updates from the CCTA Citizens Advisory Committee. Next meeting is March 18th at 6, right here on Zoom.
Okay, thank you, Chair Ross. Are there any questions, staff, before we open it up to the public? Starting with Member Armstrong? Nope. Member Burrows?
Hey, thanks, Chair Bill Hurley. Thank you very much for excellent presentation. I have one thing is I can say our traffic committee is one of the key committee in our city of San Ramon. However, it is very under known or not that well known within the community. So there are a lot of people who keep asking a lot of questions regarding around traffic issues within the city. They try to find out who is the point of contact. I mean, one thing I always advise them to go and open the CRM ticket, but still in order to get someone to understand within the community that what the process it takes and what are the procedures. So that, for example, let's take this excellent presentation, all the accomplishments that you did and the plans that you have, like master bike plan, master plan update on the bike path. So those updates looks like community it's not reaching to the community. So it will be great if we can figure out how we can share this information with the community on social media, as well as email blasts, whatever the way you think, like if we can share that information and educate community about the importance of, for example, let's take bike. That's one question I keep getting from community about on Windermere Parkway or Bollinger Canyon Road. When you are riding your bike, it's pretty scary, right? So people ask like, hey, what is the plan when we are going to have these buffer lanes? You know, because I see, especially in the afternoons, half of the people drive their cars within the half of the bike lanes. So it will be great if you can give some guidance, information, and educate community about it. That will be great because you're already doing all this great work. And if you can connect that to the community, that will be a perfect solution, I think. And once again, thank you very much for all your great work.
Thank you.
You really want to touch that one, Chair Hurley? Before I didn't think so. I'll tell you what, I've run up that grade. I'm not going down it in a bike. Councilmember Zafar.
Thank you, Chair Hurley, for that presentation. So I think along the lines of Councilmember Burrows, I would love to get an update on where we are with the bike plan. I think we've front-loaded that with some, some of the municipal bonds that we had borrowed. So I believe that's part of, why we'll be, I think, doing some more stuff to the bike plan. I would love to know what, what updates are coming. And I'm curious, I know a lot of bikers in the community are curious as to how we're rolling this out.
I'm just smirking because I'm very curious too, because I don't have a car. I just have a bike. So.
Oh boy, one of those. Well, I can tell you that we got 400 grand out of the Air District for a bike path over the Bollinger Canyon Road, and that's part of the reason it's 16 feet. But about the time you think, we get this thing done, there'll probably be as many electric bikes as there are regular bikes. And about the time you start screaming about those darn electric people, you'll have a hydrogen bike. So there's all kinds of good things coming. Vice Chair Perkins, did you have any last comments before we open before the public?
I wanted to thank Mr. Hurley for an excellent presentation. I know it's a group project. I mean, the whole committee provides input to it, and I know Lisa puts a lot of work into it as well. Thank you very much for the work you guys did on the whole Trevari Mirabella thing. You put a lot of good study into it before it came to the policy committee and came to the council. And I want to thank you for the hard work you put in on that. So good job. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hurley. And there's no action taken. We accept the report. And please send our many kudos and thanks back to the full committee. And you just keep up the good work. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Will do. Thank you.
Okay, again, no action is taken. We will move on to item 10.3, which is Lisa Bobadilla again, a staff report for, it's right in front of me, and you're going to introduce Peter Engel. Tells you how to fix every traffic problem there is.
Yes, good evening. Hello again.
Say there are none.
Hello again. I'd like to introduce to you the Director of Programs at the Contra Costa Transportation Authority, Mr. Peter Engel. Mr. Engel will provide council with an update on a very exciting program that we have embarked on, Mobility on Demand, or MOD. It's not only a program for San Ramon, but for the entire San Ramon Valley. It's a very good example of collaboration and partnership with our neighbors to the north, the town of Danville and Contra Costa County and the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. This program was presented to the Transportation Advisory Committee last year, and Mr. Engel and I also presented an update to the Policy Committee last November. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Peter Engel, and then we also have another member of the team, Ms. Corrine Dutro Roberts. She is also online to answer any questions that may come up as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Engel.
Peter, before you start speaking, I need to, either I'm getting tired or I'm getting old, or I want to see if I get, Martin, I don't remember if I opened public comment on that last item. Did I?
Did you?
And I do this, since they're both transportation related, There are 11 people here and nobody raised their hand, so I skipped right past it. Do I need to go back or can I do it on this 10.3?
You can do it at any time. And as a
Okay.
matter of fact, you could do public comments for everything all at once, but
Okay.
it's best to do, to separate them out.
Well, there's no hiding once I've admitted to it, so we'll take it all during 10.3 for 2 and 3. Oh, I'm sorry, Peter, go ahead. You have the floor.
Great. Well, thank you, Mayor Hudson, and thank you, council members. I've been with the authority going on almost 15 years now, and this is my first visit to the San Ramon City Council, so it's very exciting for me, and thank you for having me. Is somebody loading up the presentation, or there we go? So as Lisa mentioned, this is a project that the authority is embarking on. It's officially called the Bay Area Mobility on Demand, or MOD. A term that you may have heard that probably fits the description better is Mobility as a Service, or MOS. 3 years ago when the grant was submitted, the US DOT said we don't use that term MOS, we use MOD. Now they've come around a little bit, and MOS is an acceptable term with the US DOT, but we're stuck with the MOD moniker. So based on that grant application a little over 3 years ago now, CCTA received an $8 million grant from the US DOT, and to that $8 million grant supports a little over $17 million project, which is the Mobility on Demand project. And if we go to the next slide, the Mobility on Demand project is one of the projects that's associated with the Innovate 680 program, which I'm sure you've probably heard of. There's 7 different projects that are associated with improving transportation along the 680 corridor from Martinez through to Alameda County, but primarily from Walnut Creek to the Dublin area. And this is just one of the aspects, primarily of the MOD application. It's actually a platform that will have a phone application that accesses it. One of the aspects, what we're really here to talk about a lot tonight, is micromobility, which is bike share or scooter share, which I know the city has talked about quite a bit. And so we'll get back into that in just a little bit. I did want to mention that there is funding in the grant for the integration of the platform that a bike share or scooter share company uses to rent their mobility device, and integrating that platform with our MOD platform that we're developing. There's funds in there to do that. We are looking for, and believe we have identified, outside funds to support the actual on the ground bike share or scooter share micromobility project, which really is our preferred methodology. We don't want to use federal funds to do these on the ground services. There's just too much complexity with the federal funds. It's just not worth the money, and we have a lot better opportunity to have a success if we use our local funds or Mayor Hudson's Air District funds to support these bike share or scooter share projects in Contra Costa County. So if we can move to the next slide. A little bit about what MOD is. This is our super fancy steering wheel diagram that we created to help explain it a little bit better. The top half of the circle in the dark blue is the integration items that will take place in the platform. So we've got a trip planner, scheduling, an integrated payment, real-time information, rewards and incentives, and from a transit perspective, connection protections, which just helps people so they don't miss their transfers if public transit's not running on schedule. Again, this is a thing where somebody would open their smartphone, say, I'm starting here, I'm going here, please, what do I need to do? and it'll say, well, you go down, you get on this bus, and then you transfer to this bike share, and then you get to your location, you pay in one spot on the app, and it kind of helps manage your trip in real time as you're taking that transfer. So these are the main things that we're looking for from the system integration perspective. Of course, there's security and cybersecurity and all that stuff built into this, but this is the customer facing benefits. If we go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the bottom half of the circle, which is your mobility services. So we've got ride sharing and carpooling. We've got car sharing. We actually have a partnership with AAA, who operates the gig car share. We have, of course, transit, BART, and county connection. Again, we're looking at shared autonomous vehicle shuttles, dynamic parking, and transportation network companies. So both TNCs and both a ride share capacity or ride source capacity, but also the work we're doing, which was mentioned earlier, the Go San Ramon project, where it's more of a mobility on demand that's provided through a TNC like Uber or Lyft. And of course, the arrow there is pointing to bike and scooter sharing, and the 511 Contra Costa Bike Mapper, which is a program that we have now that helps people find their way on a bike when they're and helps them navigate their trip. So what most of these services do, and what we especially looking for in the bike share, is that first last mile. The idea is if somebody's coming maybe from East County, they would take BART to Walnut Creek, transfer to County Connection, and then use one of these services on the last mile from the transit center here in San Ramon to their home or their office or the store that they work at, or their final destination. Next slide. So we have been spending the last couple months doing lots of planning. Again, our systems engineers are saying, when are you going to get us a vendor so that we can start the integration process? But it does take some time. We have to work, obviously, with the local jurisdictions. We just don't want to go out there and throw a bunch of bike share bikes. That was an experience that occurred in lots of cities a few years ago, and it was a big disaster. So now people have learned from that, and we're being very careful to work with the jurisdictions, and Lisa's been very good working with us to make sure that the councils are all on board, the citizens are on board, and we're designing the bike share in a way that it meets the needs of everybody. And there's no issues that come out from that. So we have been meeting with some vendors to get feedback, better understanding of what they're looking for. This is obviously new to them. They're used to operating in big urban areas, not necessarily suburban areas, and also the effects that COVID has had on their business models. And of course, most of them are just recovering from that. And some of them haven't recovered yet. They're still waiting for that opportunity to get people using their mobility devices again. We have started some of the systems engineering with use cases. What would a person go through to do their trip, and if they had to transfer to a shared mobility asset, what does that mean? And we've been in the process of developing those vendor requirements. At the same time, we've been going through the committee process here with the city of San Ramon, and that's been a great experience. And we've heard a lot of excitement about this project and the possibility that bike share could be coming to the San Ramon Valley. And so again, we're at a point now where we're getting ready to go, looking for feedback from the council on this, and to continue to work with Lisa and her team to make sure that as we bring a vendor on board, we get the system set up in a way that it makes the residents of the community, provides them a viable asset, micromobility asset to use. We're also working, as Lisa mentioned, with the town of Danville and the city of Walnut Creek. We think there would be a great synergy along the Iron Horse Trail between those communities, between Walnut Creek and San Ramon. So we're in the process of talking to all of those, the town and the cities, to see, what the actual size of this project could potentially be. And hopefully we can find a vendor that can partner with us and kind of grow as we build upon this. I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is where I turn it over to Lisa, and she talks about where you're at with the city with your bike planning.
Very good. Thank you, Peter. So in response to the San Ramon master, the San Ramon bicycle master plan that was adopted by the council several years ago, one of the components in the bike master plan is the implementation of a bike share program. So this MOD, or the Mobility on Demand program, meets the spirit and intent of that line item that is in the San Ramon Bike Master Plan. In fact, several years ago, staff started working on the development of a citywide bike share program. And then when we heard that the authority was awarded this grant, we certainly wanted to take advantage of working with the authority and doing a valley-wide project rather than a standalone city project. And so with the grant that was awarded to the Transportation Authority and the level of interest from the town of Danville, from Alamo, and as Peter mentioned with Walnut Creek, this is looking to become more of a San Ramon Valley bike share program. But here in San Ramon, our emphasis will really be on what we can do here at the local level. So some lessons that we learned from previous bike share programs, for instance, with Lime Bike. Several years ago, many e-bikes, bike scooters, and electric bikes were actually dropped off at various locations throughout the city without an acknowledgement or advance notice from the city. These bikes were left on public roadways. They were left on private entrances to businesses. They were blocking entrances. We actually had to have our code enforcement officers come out and pick up the equipment and then call the vendor to have the vendor pick them up. While we certainly support the concept of bike share, we want to advocate that a bike share program, once it's implemented throughout the city, that there's an endorsement by the San Ramon City Council and that staff is working very closely with the community to implement a program. And then also working with the selected vendor who will oversee the bike share program. And then finally, with respect to the Bright Bishop Branch, pre-COVID, Bishop Branch had a fantastic bike share program in place, and we anticipate that they will re-implement that bike share program once the COVID pandemic is somewhat over with and people start coming back to the workplace. The Bright Bike Share Program in Bishop Branch, there were 100 bikes. They were located throughout the business park. In fact, there were 2 bikes that were allocated to the city of San Ramon. The goal of the MOD program is not to replace the Bishop Branch Bright Bike Share Program. Rather, it's to provide a bike share program for residents of San Ramon. We want to place bikes at parks throughout the city where people can use them for first and last mile to get to and from the transit center, to and from the city center, to and from the library and the community center. And so it will be our understanding, working with the vendor, that when issues do surface, if there are bikes that are left or abandoned within the public right-of-way, the bike share vendor that will be in contract with the Transportation Authority will pick up those bicycles. And so it does not go to the City of San Ramon Public Works staff or our code enforcement officers to go out and pick up the equipment. So there's a lot of lessons learned from what's been done in the past, and we're taking those lessons learned from the city of Walnut Creek, from lessons learned here in San Ramon, and then moving forward with hopefully a very successful implementation of a bike share program here in San Ramon. So with that, I think we've got one more slide, and I'll turn it over to Peter to wrap up tonight's presentation.
Yeah, so this is just a timeline for the entire project, not necessarily the bike share project, but the MOD project itself. We're in this kind of salmon colored area right now where we're doing the design, development, testing, and implementation. This is where all the systems engineering is taking place. And then we hope to start the pilot in June of 2022. And then that pilot would go from anywhere from 12 to 18 months you know, we're looking at the dates there. And this is just a demonstration deployment. What we told the feds is we just really want to make sure that these separate systems can be integrated with each other through a single platform, through a single payment, and that public and private mobility providers can all be on the same platform, and have it kind of be more of an open source system rather than a closed system, which has been the case historically in this type of technology. And so that the system could be built in a way that it can be deployed anywhere in the country. That's the one thing the US DOT wanted to see, that there can be an expansion and deployment in other areas. So this is a pilot to demonstrate this technology. It's you know, probably not gonna, we're certainly gonna have a lot of lessons learned with regard to equity concerns and things like that. That we won't be able to solve, but we'll at least be able to identify those. So as these projects go into second and third phases, we can start addressing some of those other issues. I think that's the last slide, that we might click one more just to see. Yes, that is. So like Lisa mentioned, I've got my colleague, Corinne Dutra-Roberts with Advanced Mobility Group. They're also a partner in the project along with BART and AAA. And she's brings the expertise of kind of the human element to these technology projects. She's worked in TDM for many years, and so she understands these issues. So when you stump me with a question, maybe she can answer it. So thank you.
Okay, up to questions of staff before we open it up for public comment. Let's start with Sabina this time. You got any questions?
Well, you know, I'm super excited. This is really very cool. And the fact that we're doing it, and Lisa knows how excited I am about the shared bike. So yes, I think this is exactly, you know, how we connect the last mile, especially in San Ramon, where, you know, we don't have a public transportation here. And so it does become challenging for people to take BART or take any public transportation. So the whole connectivity and the, you know, been hearing a lot about MOD and MOS, and very excited to see that. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. And that public transportation component is going to change very quickly. Let's go to Councilmember Armstrong. You have any questions? And then Veros.
Maybe a couple comments and a question. First of all, a great presentation, and I love the fact that we're bringing this to San Ramon. I know it's for a wider region, but certainly the Bay Area, with all our tech savvy and everything else in this region, this is a great place to do it. I am aware, I've recently got an update on the shared autonomous vehicle program, but I'm not familiar how much we've got going on with car sharing. Can you share a little bit more about that? And is that a San Ramon thing?
Yeah, it's actually something that we're bringing in for this MOD application. There might be some zip. I'm not really sure exactly what, for instance, Zipcar, which is a car share company, does in the area. There might be a few car share pods. AAA has a branch that's called A3 Innovations or something. It's kind of their technology sector, and they've developed what's called gig car share. So in our partnership with AAA, they've agreed to bring some gig car share into the area. We haven't determined yet exactly where it's going to be, but it's more for the integration and just to prove that the integration can take place between their on-vehicle technology platform, where people unlock the car with their phone or with a card and pay that way and everything. So, you know, hopefully this will give us an opportunity to bring more car share as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing this roll out. I hope you can get that vendor soon, and I think it's a great idea, and I look forward to personally taking advantage of the app when that thing rolls out.
Great. Vidar.
Thank you, Mr. Engel and Lisa, for excellent presentation and sharing this valuable information. Like my fellow commissioners, I'm not fellow council members. I'm very excited about the program, especially the app looks pretty sleek, like at least the picture. And as a motorcycle rider myself, a few questions popped up into my mind, like, is this is it a motorized bike, or is it a scooter? What exactly this?
Typically, what we've seen, the vendors generally have a different mobility options. So they'll have e-bikes, which are kind of the new big thing, and kind of opens the door for people who aren't regular bicycle riders to use this as a first mile, last mile option. They also have, and this is a new terminology to me, and I think it sounds pretty cool, so I'm going to use it, acoustic bikes, which is the traditional non-electric bikes. Some of them have electric scooters, which is, of course, what you see over in Oakland and San Francisco a lot. A lot of them are also using mobility devices that might be better suited for seniors that maybe have 3 wheels and a lower platform, so they don't have to step up as high onto the scooter. So those are kind of more specialty vehicles. I'm not saying that that's what we would be looking at. So there is I wouldn't say an electric motorcycle or anything like that. Generally, these have speed limits of a maximum of 20 miles an hour, the E versions, so that you can use them safely on bike trails and in bike lanes, and they're not a nuisance from a speed perspective. So they are regulated by the state as certain types of vehicles, and those generally these are within 20 miles or less, 20 miles per hour or less.
Oh, okay. Because that once again gets into public safety, right? Because like if they have to wear the helmets, then I'm wondering how they bring all that logistics to have the helmets along with the bikes.
Right. These are definitely classified as bicycles versus motor vehicles.
Yeah, cool.
To answer Sridhar, it's all of the above. The amount of stuff that's coming down the pike, I saw 10 to 15 different motor scooters that will fit this electric. I've seen electric bikes that Peter's talking about, and hydrogen bikes that'll go up to 250 kilometers on one refilling. It's all coming. It's just how fast can you fit the docking in, which is the question I was hoping somebody would bring up. And the same thing with the little, what was that thing Chiron had? Forgot the name of the thing now, Neuron or something like that.
Yeah, Neuron.
The scooters. There is so, and I hope in the bike share or the car sharing, I wanted to say, Mark, wait till you see the Twizy. Look up the Twizy. I want that car share. You'll see those things all over town. Anyway, Vice Mayor, or did you have more, Sridhar? We'll go to.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Scott Perkins.
Thank you very much, Peter. I'm on the Innovate 680 committee. So on the, what's a policy advisory committee. So, I appreciate the updates I get periodically through that, and really a lot of exciting things happening, and look forward to seeing some implementation, which is where we all want to see it go. All the plans in the world don't move people around. We got to get some of the stuff implemented. I look forward to that.
Yep, agreed.
Peter, kind of a question that's been in the back of my mind. One of the big, I was actually in the office when we used the term MOS, and Vincent Valdez kind of cringed, but now that he's gone, I wish he was still there. Now we got to compete with the little jerk, and he's probably going to steal all the money for Western Pennsylvania. But when do you think Washington, D.C. will open? Has there been any talk, Tim, anybody about going back? You cannot beat face-to-face networking in Navy Yard. It just, and I'm really concerned about the East Coast ahead of us.
Yeah, I agree with you. We had our meetings last week with our congressional delegation members. We have been holding off until it gets closer to reauthorization of the Surface Transportation Bill to meet with the departments, and also kind of let them get under the new administration, get their houses in order a little bit. But agreed, it wasn't the same on a Zoom call as it was actually being there talking face to face with our
Not the same.
with our congressional representatives, because we have been very successful in getting funding and helping to guide these laws a little bit. I will let you know there's lots of excitement back there in electrification, both in vehicles and also in bicycles. And there looks like there may be a bill that comes through as part of the reauthorization that would provide a tax subsidy to people for not only the purchase of an electric vehicle, but an electric bicycle as well. So that would be good.
Well, I would just say that the last thing I left your previous executive officer, the APTA conference, if it's going to be held this year in Anaheim, is something that a large delegation should go. I mean, anybody to do with any kind of transportation. I know I've been talking to our city manager and people that would be purchasing vehicles for us. And I'm actually thinking of seeing what it would cost to send the entire city council down to see some of these things. If the electric vehicle symposium ever comes back to the United States on the West Coast, we are foolish if we miss this. The stuff that I have seen is, well, Scott Perkins earlier tonight was talking about the battery and the this and the that. 2018, I watched it work. And these kind of things, when you can go to these conferences live, instead of just trying to see the marketing plan of some company, it makes a world of difference. And it gets you excited, like what you heard from Mark. Hey, I want to see these cars. Wait till you see the Twizy.
Yeah, wait, when GM and Ford are now coming out and really making a strong commitment to EVs, you know that the technology is almost there.
And the autonomous vehicle's not gone. It's still, remember, Concord, I believe Concord and San Ramon Business Park are still the only two that can have them on the street, the only two cities. So hopefully Momentum will have that going. Anything else you have, Peter? And I will open it for public comment first. I have one attendee that wishes to speak. This is for This is for item 10.2 or 10.3. Thank you. We'll let Luz Gomez come in. Can you bring her in first? Just if you would stick around in case we don't make some comments afterwards.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. This is Luz Gomez, long-term resident of San Ramon, and also working with County Public Health to try to promote a lot of what we're talking about tonight. Safe biking and safe routes to schools, and also electric vehicle deployment and things like that. And so I love the idea that there's going to be this dynamic parking and EV charging infrastructure as part of the overall picture. But I was just curious if there's thought to the V2G technology of like vehicle to grid integration to take advantage of the battery power that exists in electric vehicles to return it to the grid if needed and that sort of thing. So just curious about that. And just to comment that last night I was watching Bill Gates announce his new book on the NewsHour, and it was just a reminder of where we find ourselves in the world with climate change and the crisis that it is. And I just want us in San Ramon to try to do as much as we can, and this is certainly a step in the right direction. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Luz, and I'll call on Wayne Mortensen. Actually, the VDG is what Scott Perkins and I were just talking about. And we're going to see more and more on that on all the multifamilies as they come out. Wayne, you have the floor. You got to unmute though.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. My concern is that there is a group of seniors, and it could include other people as well, that have lost their ability to drive because of medical conditions. But they don't qualify for paratransit. Is there a consideration for providing mobility from them? We have limited public transit available, and there really needs to be a way to allow these people to get out and get to where they need to go. And I would hope that the consideration is given to providing transit for them. A number are elderly and are not stable enough to be riding a bicycle. And so that needs to be considered as well. That's all I had. Thank you very much for considering that.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. Seeing no other speakers, I'll close the public hearing. I think, Peter, that's kind of what we're dealing with ATS, the meetings that we've got coming up, trying to put together some plans like that, that is all that comprehensive. Anything you can add to that?
Yeah, I'll just, that's a great comment, and kind of a parallel effort. It's not necessarily associated with the MOD project, but the authority over the last year has been developing an accessible transportation strategic plan, which we're preparing to take to the authority board in March for approval. And part of the recommendation there is to set up a more permanent, semi-permanent task force that will eventually look at putting together a coordinating entity, a permanent entity that would look at how these services for the seniors and people with disabilities can better coordinate, because that's the problem. We've got all these services that operate in silos and they're not coordinating with each other. And you know, that's what the accessible transportation study is looking at, as well as mobility strategies that will provide services like the gentleman was talking about for more frail seniors and people with disabilities, so that they can really travel the way we all do, you know, more on demand, rather than have to make reservations in advance on paratransit and things like that. So Mayor Hudson sits on the policy advisory committee for that and has gone through several meetings, and his input into the system into the study has been great. So more on that to come.
Thank you, Peter. Any last comments that you want to make? We'll start with you, Mark.
No additional comments.
Okay, Sridhar.
No additional comments. Thank you.
Bina?
I was just going to say, Apple is now getting into the business of autonomous cars, so you know it's going to start going mainstream. And yeah, so just wanted to.
Yeah. And it'll be so non-competitive. Vice Mayor Perkins.
I'm fine, thank you.
I just, as you were saying, I'm thinking, oh, great. Half the cars will talk to each other and the other half will swear at each other. Okay, thanks again, Peter. An excellent report, Lisa. Again, great job from both of the 10.2 and 10.3. There's no action required. We thank you for coming tonight, Peter, and we're looking forward to that first autonomous vehicle going over Bollinger Canyon overpass, which, by the way, CCTA is the lead agent on that also.
We'll be sharing when we get the bike share vendor set up and ready to go. We'll have a good ribbon cutting and get all of you on a bike.
I know this is a waste of time, but I'm going to tell you, when MTC stole this program away from the Air District when we were at 1,000, one of the last things Scott Haggerty did was negotiate some money from MTC for the East Bay.
Yeah.
Now, if you really think you're ever going to see that now that Hemminger's gone and Haggerty's gone, then I got a bridge for you over in San Francisco too, that you can paint it a different color. It's not a good looking orange, but thanks again, Peter.
Thank you.
And we will move on to the next item, which is 11, city manager comments. You still with us?
I am still with you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few items. We do have a city council goal setting set for March 27th. So that's a Saturday. So if anybody would like to come out and have a look at that, we will be doing that. We'll give you more information as that comes forward. We're also monitoring, as you're aware, the recovery bill at the federal level, just passed committee, and some of the state and local government relief is still intact there. So we'll continue to monitor that, so that if that does go through, there will be some availability of some federal dollars for COVID relief at the state and local levels. And then we, just as a side, we have 12 of our city staff members from different departments in the city. We'll be supporting the fire district's vaccination clinics on February 25th and also March 5th. They anticipate giving about 1,600 vaccinations this week and 1,000 more the next week or so. And our staff supports the actual fire district who gives the vaccinations. Our staff doesn't give the actual vaccinations. We asked, they wouldn't let us do it. I don't know why. But we're excited. we're excited to be a part of the solution, and we look forward to future vaccine clinics, not only in March, but in the months to come. So vaccine city staff, we're doing our part as well to fight this pandemic. And that's it for city manager comments.
Oh, gosh, I could see it now. I thought it was supposed to be in the arm. Anyway, thank you, city manager. No comments for more. That was enough right there for all of us. Let's go to public comment. This is a time for anyone in the audience who haven't addressed us at the previous public comment to speak to us on any item that is not on the agenda tonight. Public comment is open. I see there are 9 attendees. I don't see anybody asking to speak. Going once, going twice. Public comment is closed. City council member comments, starting with member Armstrong.
I've got nothing to report since the last meeting.
Cool. Member Burrows.
I attended February 16th San Ramon Historic Foundation meeting. They had conversation around applying for grants with Dottie Valley San Ramon Rotary Club. Looks like it's going to be in July. And the next item is Brad is working with the city contractors on garden remodel, as well as working with contractors on getting the paint and fix for the glass house. Looks like that is going to come to our city council meeting. And also he's working on getting some meat locker and lighting project to work with the contractors. So that is going to go with the Parks Commission. And the next one is Craft Fest. It looks like just now I checked their website, looks like they are all sold out. So the Craft Fest is scheduled for 27th. And the final thing is they are planning for sheep shearing as well as art and wind festival. So as this is a COVID situation, they are still looking at the options at this point. So that's my update.
Okay, member Safar.
So I attended the finance committee meeting yesterday, and we got an update on our budget situation. Not the full year, but half year budget and how we're doing. I think given the full picture, yes, we've had some impact, but overall staff's done a really good job of managing the budget and managing our finances. So I didn't feel bad at all. I think, yeah. So thank you.
I know we're laughing, but that's a great sign.
That's a great sign. I mean, I know Joe and his team really tightened their belts and made sure that we were very, very conscious of how we were spending money, what we were doing. And so I really appreciate that. That puts us in a good position. Hopefully with some of the money that's going to come down from the federal government, we might just, close the gap on some of the things. So fingers crossed for that.
I am really going to bite my tongue and not say a word about that tightening the belt.
And Joe mentioned the vaccines, but the great news is that almost 21% of Contra Costa County's population has been vaccinated with the first dose, which is really, I think, which is very, very positive. Looks like California is number 7 in the world when it's coming down to rolling out the vaccine, and Contra Costa is kind of, has the same percentage as the rest of the state. So I'm excited about that. I think we're doing a good job with that. Any other updates? No, I don't think I have any other updates.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yeah, somehow the image of our city manager tightening his belt is something I'm going to have to, it's going to make it hard to go to sleep.
I don't know what I'm laughing about.
We're going to have another image for financial austerity than the city manager tightening his belt. Let's see. MCE, Marin Clean Energy, we're the power provider for about 90% of the city. Through the pandemic and all, we've taken about a $10 million hit overall. Our commercial accounts are down substantially. Our residential accounts are up. But we had to buy power at very high prices in August, which hurt. But overall, we've taken about a $10 million hit, but we still have over $200 million in reserves. So MCE will weather the year just fine. Our fiscal year goes from 1 April through 31 March. And so we're closing in on the end of our fiscal year. Our fiscal year is roughly the pandemic. And so we're doing okay. If there are MCE customers that you're aware of that are having substantial financial problems, let me know or go onto their website, and because there is assistance available. Went to the EBRICS, the East Bay Regional Communication System Authority, that's the radio system. Finance Committee, they tried to provide a audit report, but they didn't give us the audit, so we said we'll see it at the next one. They discussed the fact that the Faria Preserve project doesn't have good radio coverage. And so, thank goodness, we have a condition of approval that requires the developer to install equipment to make sure that the fire and police have full coverage throughout any project. So it's on Lennar's back to put up a tower or whatever they're going to do. That's a real big plus, by the way. And so I have recommended to the executive director that EBRICS pass a resolution that requires every jurisdiction with land use authority to put that clause in the conditions of approval so that the EBRICS authority doesn't end up paying for new towers and microwaves and things like that. And in the absence of a developer doing that work, it would then fall upon the land use authority to do that work. Because there's no reason for, if Martinez builds 50 homes up some tiny little canyon that doesn't have good coverage, that San Ramon, Antioch, and Oakland should pay to have that new system put in place. So we're proceeding with that. The last one that's going to cost us a fortune unless there's some relief is encryption on the radio system. And that's because there's PII that gets transmitted. You get a name, birthday, their license number, sometimes their social security number, things like that get transmitted over the police radio systems. And as a result, there's been some rulemaking, I guess, that would require that we have an encrypted system for all police communications. That will cost EBRICS and the member agencies about $15 million to implement. It's about $750 per radio. And then there's another $3 to $4 million of hardware that's part of the EBRICS system. So Joe, somewhere along the line, you may have to pencil in $750 extra per radio. It won't, we're pushing back. It turns out that the Highway Patrol is getting an exemption. And we don't understand if the Highway Patrol can get an exemption, why is there even a rule? So, and that's because you can take your phone and you can get an app that listens into police. It's a police scanner thing. So you can listen in and find out what's going on, and you can get that PII while listening to that. So just be aware that that's could be coming. We're pushing back, but we don't know if we'll be successful. That's my report. Thank you.
I love it. I don't understand what that. You just got schooled on who has the power. That's why they got the exemption, whether it's right or wrong. Isn't it annoying? Anyway, I attended the Daughters of the American Revolution History Awards. We had a couple of people come out pretty well. Sixth grade winner was Ane Koshrista from Gale Ranch Middle School. the Dar Good Citizen Award. The winner, actually, Shraya Balasubramanian from Doherty Valley High School, and Mia Rodriguez was an honorable mention from Cal High. Cal High did good. So did Doherty Valley High and Gale Ranch. Received a formula of funds that the city manager was talking about earlier, still early at the MTCA BAG Legislative Committee. The good news is when you look down the list, we were the third highest number at 96 million, but that's for the Concord, that's County Connection and a lot of other. This is about Bay Area Transit Emergency Relief for the 2021 House Coronavirus Relief Package. We were the third highest number, and the fourth highest went from our 96 million down to Santa Rosa's 28 million. So makes you feel good, but feel good isn't the bank. One of the more exciting things that I've been involved with, and I don't know how far I can take this, but I'm now on the ABAG Administration Committee, and MTC and ABAG meet together on this. And there is a climate initiative program for Mobility Hubs program update. And the minute we got the update, San Jose, San Ramon, and Berkeley went into a screaming match almost to get the funds. We have been doing a study along Innovate 680 for some time, and LAVTA and County Connection are working pretty close together, about ready to go after a grant for 6 to 8 hydrogen buses. Hydrogen's making a resurgence. We're going to cut those little electric buses out. A lot of it is going to have to do with weight too. It's just a matter of, I don't know, I want to say the 8 tracks or the cassettes trying to decide who's going to get what, but I have a feeling you're going to see both of them in the future. But electricity is going to have the pull throughout this decade. Also, many of you received a Myers-Nave. We always get these legal alerts. I'd say feel even better about the stuff we were talking about tonight at the special meeting. Read the California Density Bonus Law 2021 update for AB 2345 and AB 168, and you'll feel even better than you did after that special meeting tonight. That's my report for the evening. I have one other thing to say, Mark. If you're going to tell me I have to do a motion and a second to adjourn and get a roll call vote, I'm going to go ballistic. I'm adjourning this meeting. Do I need a motion and a second, or we're all up for lawsuits, or can I just adjourn this thing?
Quick question, which I missed to ask.
Just on
What?
there
A
for your
quick question? Go ahead. Go ahead, Sabina.
So it's been a long night since 5 o'clock. So I am doing a virtual town hall with the California Insurance Commissioner, Ricardo Lara. I wanted to ask the council if this is something we could publish through our social media. How do you guys feel about it? I don't know, Martin, how do we, is this something that the council can comment on now, or?
I don't think we can comment on it now, but
no.
I would say just get with Martin, figure out what it has to do. I did one as part of a different organization I was working with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, and we did diesel free in 33. Crazy enough, Ricardo Lara was one of the speakers on the panel along with Scott Weiner. Yeah, it was anyway, but I would say if you're going to put it on the city website, discuss it with Martin, get it on the, probably would go to policy first. Is that right? So Sridhar and Mark would get it and you guys discuss, but I mean, anything you can get out from is he doing insurance? I forgot what he was on.
Insurance, yeah. So this is on fire preparedness.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what is and what isn't on this, and we can't discuss it. So I would just say start with Martin and we go from there. Does that sound about right, Martin?
Yeah. Now, are you simply talking about having the council endorse the event as a city event?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, so it would probably be best if it went through the process, and then that way we could essentially make this a city event.
Okay. It probably won't happen for this event, but I think it's a good can of worms to open up and figure out, what we do in the future if any of the other council members want.
Well, it's better to find out before you do it. So yeah, I'd say it's probably a good thing.
And actually, Mr. Mayor, that might not be a bad thing to put together as a formal policy, just so we have that.
Yeah.
Anyway, is that good? And if any of you dare make a motion in a second, I'll shoot both of you. I don't want to hang around for a roll call vote. We are adjourned to the next regularly scheduled council meeting, which will be held on March 9th, 2021. Thank you for a very long night. I think you held together very well, and we will see you. Well, we'll see you when we see you, because we don't see you anymore. Did we go, last question now that we've adjourned, did we go to red tier? Did I miss something?
No.
No? Okay.